Hey guys, Nick here with Luxe Blades. We're going to talk about installing artificial turf putting greens. And these putting greens are great for the weekend warrior, the kiddos, or PGA professionals. So, we're going to go over a lot of topics on the putting greens. You're going to want to start your putting greens with the same install you would for artificial turf. So, I'm going to bring up a putting green here. So you're going to excavate 3 to 4 inches, bringing in your crushed compacted rock, and then you're going to paint out with marking paint where you want the golf green to be. Then you're going to mark where you want the holes to be. During this process, I like to have the customer present so that way they can mark the holes and do those things. So that way they're completely happy with the shape and the layout. So then we'll take some paver sand or something like that and go over the top of the base material. Make sure it's nice and flat because sometimes those that plate compactor can leave some ridges. And so we're gonna take a roller and roll it all nice and flat. So that way there's no ridges, smooth as a baby's bottom. Okay. Then our cups. Our cups we can do one or two ways. We can either do a sleeve system, which I prefer, because there's no freeze and thaw effect where the concrete can maybe bust later on, or you can do the traditional way with concrete. So if you do a traditional way with concrete, I recommend going with a 6-inch cup, and what you can do is you put your hole in there, you set your cup to the height that you want it to be. Your cup needs to be, you need to have like one cup that you designate for golf greens. And what I like to do is take that golf cup and get some like Johnson and Johnson wax and wax the golf cup. And then as you pour your concrete in, and then you go to the next hole. Now, 5 minutes later, because you're using quickcrete, right? Something's gonna set up. You're gonna take it and you're gonna spin it. Spin that golf cup within 5 minutes. So that way, and you got that Johnson wax on the outside of the golf cup. So that way, it don't stick to the concrete. Okay. In 10 minutes, pop that sucker out, use it for the next hole. And you go so on and so on. What I also like to do is go 18 inches around each cup, perfectly flat. Take a level, make sure it's perfectly flat. Make sure the cup sets flat. Attention to detail on these putting greens is crucial. That's why customers pay more, because attention to detail, okay? So as you can see, the attention to detail on this one here is this customer wanted a little bit of a fringe around the landscape turf. So we used our pet turf here next to the golf green turf, which is a texturized golf green, and then our landscape turf. So the pet turf to the putting green is going to be glued with seam tape. In this one here, we use Turf Claw and Sinlock Adhesives turf tape, and did that. Then from the fringe to the landscape, we did a glued and nailed. Here's what we did. As you're doing that, you want to stretch that turf, right? So it's tight like a drum. And so the only way to do that is with the nails. And you get that nice and tight. And make sure the attention to detail. If you see this top right picture here, I kind of put this in here so you can see it. Look at the attention to detail. There's no gaps in between, nothing like that. You see some companies, they'll come in there and there's gaps and stuff and they fill it in with EnviroFill and say, oh, it's all good. No, you can't do that. These customers are paying top dollar and it's your name on the line and you want the best. So that's what we did with this golf green here. Okay. And we added 2 pounds of 3050 EnviroFill. Now you can do silica sand. You can. I don't. Not on these. Not on these. I do 3050 EnviroFill, green and black. And then we roll it several times to make sure It's very, very perfect, and use a stimp meter, okay? If you don't have a stimp meter, go out and get one. 3 foot long. It's got a little bit of wedge and a spot for the golf ball to set. And when that golf ball goes off, you measure from the end of the stimp meter to the golf ball. Okay, you're going to do that 3 times, divide it, and there's that one. Then you're going to go back the opposite direction where you just went and go back and get the length that the 3 balls rolled on that one as well, and you'll get your average, and that's what the golf green's rolling at. So that's very important for an avid golfer, okay? This next putting green is a sand-filled putting green. So on this one here, we went 3 pounds of 3050 silica sand, okay? And each pound, after we put in each pound, we brush in, right? So at the very beginning, before it gets any turf in it or any sand in it, we brush the heck out of it, get it standing straight up. Then put a pound in, brush, put a pound in, brush, put a pound in, brush. And it's very methodical, okay? And then when you get to about a quarter of an inch, you're going to, well, let's just put this. So after 3 pounds of silica, the other 2 to 3 pounds, probably 3 pounds, you're going to put 3050 in Virofill, okay? Perfectly rounded coated silica sand, okay? What this does, it acts as ball bearings. So when that ball is spinning, it's going to act like a true bent grass golf green. So the trick is to do it evenly, and after every pound, brush it. And when you get to this top layer here, you're using hand brushes. I mean, big old stiff shop brooms. And you're getting in there good, making sure it's all level, it's all the same. Then, the important part, this roller here, we use a Salsco golf greens roller like the one here in this picture. The reason we do this is we take these putting greens very, very serious. We roll it for several hours in different directions, and this makes it a true non-directional putting surface. So it's just like whenever you're doing like a soccer field or something, like the notorious, right, is you got these landscape crews that install artificial turf soccer field, and they don't put enough infill in, or they sold them the wrong turf, and the ball's curving. It's curving every time they kick. It's curving. Well, it's going the direction of the blades because it wasn't taken into consideration. Okay, so no different than a golf ball. We want it non-directional, and I highly recommend getting a Salsco golf greens roller because it's going to be like verticutting a golf green. Super, super important when building these sand-filled greens. Then you're going to use a step meter on it as well. If the customer says, hey, it needs more infill, add it. I don't recommend personally going over a 10 or 11 because as these greens wear and mature, they get harder and faster, okay? So just think about that. If someone wants a 13 or something like that, like Masters on a Sunday afternoon where you barely can blow on it and the ball goes off, yeah, I don't recommend that. But hey, to each his own. So that's what this is a sand-filled golf green here. This one here, the reason I picked this one up is because a lot of people use those golf lights that are in the cups. I personally don't recommend it because I've had several that the lights have actually failed, and then you have to take the golf green up in order to get that light out, trace the wire, and so on. So these are Luxe Blades lights that sit in the cups. They are LED and they're not waterproof. That's the downside. They're not weatherproof. But look how awesome this is, okay? They light really well and it's fun. So at the end of the day, just take your flags, take your pins, take the light with you. Put it underneath the porch. Okay? That's all you have to do. So that's why I took this picture here. This was a really fun project here in Prosper, Texas. Then here is this project we did here in Highland Park area of Dallas, Texas. And on this one, we did the texturized putting green as well. But I kind of want to show you the detail here of the bunker. A lot of people use the ADS piping, wrap it around and nail it and stuff like that. We didn't do that. So if you see here, we've taken the turf and we've used a fast setting concrete all around it. Now you wonder why it's lipped up on this left side. It's because we don't want the water to hit that and go into the bunker. So we want to try to make sure water can't go into the bunker as well. We want to try to mitigate as much water as possible going into the bunker. So that's why we built it this way. Again, attention to detail. And then we topped it off with white turf in there and just set it off. It looks beautiful. And then here's one of my favorite customers, Steve here. So we want to make sure our customers are completely satisfied with our putting greens because they're going to be the ones using them, and we want to make sure it's rolling at the speed that they want and it's performing to their specifications. So we like to make sure our customers are completely happy with our putting greens. And then a little trick here that we have is I've taken turf, and this is the same turf, right? And we flipped it going the opposite direction and giving it a mode look. So some turf you can just flip it the other way. I recommend going every 3 feet. If it's a smaller project, every 1.5 feet, putting a seam, because that's about the width of a long. So the just make sure attention to detail is everything on these golf greens. Attention to detail. Now this is another sand-filled putting green, and actually this is a golf green. We did 3 holes here in Lucas, Texas, and this customer has an absolutely beautiful property. Um, you know, spared nothing for expense on this job. Each green was about 45 by 50, and we used the sand-filled putting green. Turned out really well. We did a 3-hole placement, one in front, middle, and back of each hole. And then he can use the tee boxes that are here, plus you need to add a couple. That way you can get a 9-hole course out of it. So it's really cool. It turned out, turned out beautiful, but attention to detail is everything. Look at this. I mean, absolutely beautiful. So the tee mat's over here to the left. Put a little, turf around it. Just really set it off. Make everything look the same. And it's just, guys, attention to detail is everything on these putting greens. And that's why you charge more. And that's what you're going to tell your customers why you charge more is because it takes more time. So just make sure that you do it correctly. This golf green here in this picture is the first, it's kind of my claim to fame. It's my first golf course, and it was the first golf course in the United States out of synthetic turf on the rim of the Palo Duro Canyon, the River Falls development, hence why they have the logo RF in the turf, because that was their brand for River Falls. And this golf green and everything out here in West Texas is probably let's see, in this picture here, about 8 years old. And on this one we did front, middle, and back as well. This hole, it goes over a big ravine. There's been elk. He has elk out here. Elk's tracked over it and everything like that. It works really well. I don't use any that real thick pad underneath my golf greens unless a customer wants to. I just feel like that would break down over time. I don't know if it does or doesn't. I just feel like that it might. So, and every green I've built has stood the test of time and has worked really well. So, guys, just remember attention to detail for everything. Have a plan in your head how it's going to be mapped out beforehand. And whenever you're doing base work, always add, like, let's just say, like a little putting green, say 500 square foot putting green, add an extra load of base in there just in case. Just in your bid, add it in there. You may not need it. That's great. But if you do need it, it's accounted for. So, guys, Nick Ogilvy, Luxe Blades, I hope you learned something about installing artificial turf golf greens. If you need any help, please feel free to reach out to me at luxeblades.com or nick at luxeblades.com. Have a great day.